This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
Welcome to the Fatal Four-Way Live.
If you do that, I'm going to lose it.
Welcome to the Fatal Four-Way, very special Halloween edition of the Fatal Four-Way. We are live here on ONTV along with the King of Kings, Brian Bolf. I am the Phenom, Jason Clouse, and we certainly appreciate you tuning in here tonight. Conspicuous by his absence, but we're told he is on his way here. Booker Q, if I gotta believe, Brian. We're gonna say he's fashionably late. Okay, so we'll just go with that. But be that as it may, we have a lot to dive into this week. Let's get right into a very controversial Monday Night Raw this past week. A lot of news, Brian, came out of Monday Night Raw, and it kicked off with the announcement that, we speculated on this since Crown Jewel. The rumors were true. Seth Rollins, obviously injured in the coast-to-coast spot with his match with Cody Rhodes, having to have shoulder surgery, and subsequently having to vacate the World Heavyweight Championship. So now the way we have it set up is on November the 1st at Saturday night's main event in Salt Lake City, Utah. CM Punk, who had already earned a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship, will now go into a vacancy filling match with main event Jey Uso. Now, this caused a lot of ripple effects among wrestling fans, among the IWC, and it raises the question, could they have gone another route with this? Now, the question isn't necessarily with CM Punk, because he had earned a title shot the week before, which we were anticipating we were going to see a highly anticipated match in this rivalry between Rollins and CM Punk. However, with Rollins' injury and having to vacate the World Heavyweight Championship, we're going to get Punk and Jey Uso. Now, we'll start with this, Brian. I know you and I have had a conversation about this. In your opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Jey Uso was not the right guy here.
I don't think so. I think we've seen this match repeatedly, at least in some way or function, between Jey Uso, CM Punk, and LA Knight. I didn't want to see LA Knight in there either, and I know that people were a little bit more, would have been more forgiving if it was LA Knight. Mm-hmm. But it's like, why? I don't want to see this match. I feel like I've seen it 100 times. Let's get somebody else in that title shot scene that's not the same guys. Right now, all we're seeing is a bunch of guys over 40 competing for the heavyweight belt.
Interesting point, but then you look at the upper echelon of the Monday Night Raw scene right now, and a lot of their guys are 40 plus, and I get that, because it wasn't all that long ago 40 was deemed too old. We look back, and I'll use this as an example. We look back at like Hulk Hogan when he went to WCW and more or less reinvented his career before the New World Order. He was 42, 43 years old, but was still going at it. But nowadays, you look at a lot of these guys on this graphic here, Finn Balor in his 40s, CM Punk in his 40s, Jey Uso in his 40s. Even other guys, AJ Styles. I mean, the guy had a classic match against John Cena. Both of those guys in their 40s, late 40s too. So it makes me wonder, and we'll go on the sidebar here, the younger talent, is it taking them longer to become main event stars, to hone their craft to the point to where the fans, the paying audience, and when we say paying audience, we're talking hundreds of dollars to sit in the nosebleeds for a Monday Night Raw. You're paying 30 plus bucks a month to watch the premium live events on ESPN, not to mention what you have to shell out for Netflix to watch Raw. Is it taking longer for the younger generation of guys, with the exception of maybe Braun Breaker, with the exception of Logan Paul, to elevate themselves to the main event picture?
I mean, it obviously is, because we see it happening. But the real question is why? Are we holding on to these older guys because they're our money makers and we don't want to risk letting that go? Or is it because we want to fine tune the younger guys' talents to at the right time to step in? But where's the right time to step in?
Right.
When do you give the keys to Braun Breaker?
We've seen this over the course of the history of professional wrestling. Timing is everything. And for Roman Reigns, we'll use an example for, when he won the 2015 Royal Rumble, people thought it was a year too late. And they wound up shoving him down our throats. So his babyface run was not well received at all. It wasn't until he became the tribal chief.
Yeah, Big Dog was terrible.
Yeah, Big Dog was awful. You know, just his whole presentation was just, he was just shoved down our throats. You look at John Cena, you know, during his run, he was very polarizing. On one side of the fan base, the younger fan base, he was that generation's Hogan. For us, for older fans, like we're looking at him like, no, we don't want this guy. But you keep shoving him down our throats. With CM Punk, he is getting the loudest pops every single Monday that he shows up. And for the longest time, we could say the same thing about Jey Uso. You know, you go back to Backlash of 2024, and the entire building was yeeting. I mean, it was unlike anything that we had ever seen, and they rode that momentum to WrestleMania. He beats Gunther, becomes the world heavyweight champion, and everybody was happy. But it seems like as soon as he got that title, everybody kind of started to dial back a little bit on Jey Uso. So now where he's at storyline-wise, are you going to keep him in the tag team, with his reunited tag team with his brother Jimmy? Are you going to, or are you going to keep him in the main event picture? You got to figure out what you're doing with him. But we saw a graphic yesterday, I think it was, and 3 of the most disliked videos on YouTube right now center around Jey Uso. So is now the time to pull the plug, turn him into full-blown heel? And if they do that, does that add any additional interest to this match on Saturday night's main event?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say no. Because I don't think a heel Jey Uso is going to work. I feel like to be a heel, you have to be able to talk. And I don't feel like Jey is great on the mic at all. Usually he's trying to catch his breath from his entrance. Mm-hmm. I'd actually rather see Jimmy be the one that turned heel.
Yeah, he does most definitely have more heel-like tendencies, and especially with the way the storyline has been working out in the last handful of weeks here, there's a lot of tension between the twins right now, and I have said, like, I have felt bad for Jimmy Uso, whether it's injuries or whatever. He just cannot get the momentum going.
Every relative around him is holding single gold.
Yeah.
Except for him.
Right.
Even his wife. Like everywhere around him, everyone's got belts but him.
And you got to wonder, like in real life, take the show business aspect out of it. That's got to be a motivator, right? Like you got to find something. You got to find that lightning in a bottle. to get the ball rolling as a solo star. And I wonder if they really went all in on Big Jim. Could he do something without being in the shadow of his brother Jay, without being in the shadow of Roman Reigns, even his wife, Naomi, who was on fire at the time that she had to, go on her break because, well, she got pregnant. You know what I mean? So is that a motivator? And what does he have to do to become that next breakout star? Because even Solo is a bigger single star than Jimmy Uso at this point.
I mean, really, to be a solo star, you have to have something that stands out, in which it's hard to stand out when you have a twin brother.
Facts.
You're literally the carbon copy of him. And look at Jey Uso. I don't think Jey Uso really is as popular as his gimmick is. The yeet is what's popular. I don't think Jimmy Uso is anything without that. I think the reason why he has fans is I think people love doing that. I think they love doing the yeet as he's coming down. But when it comes to actual Jay in the ring, like, there's not really much to him. He does the super kick, just like his brother, just like Shawn Michaels. He does the spear, just like Roman. It's just, nothing stands out of Jay for me. Mm-hmm. So how much harder is it going to be for Jimmy? Because unless you're going to find lightning in a bottle and find another yeet, what chances does he have?
It's a good point. So are you okay with the fact that CM Punk is in this match?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had the book and you had the entire Monday Night Raw roster at your disposal, who do you put in against Punk to fill the vacancy of the World Heavyweight Championship on Saturday night's main event?
It's hard because you have so many injuries too.
Right.
Because, I mean, obviously Gunther should be there, but that's an option. I know they don't want to do Breaker because they don't want Breaker to not win at this point. They want to
keep building them up.
But why couldn't you had the two Bronze in there and had Bronson Reed end up winning it? Bronson Reed could take a loss to CM Punk, and we still get a young face in there. Mm-hmm. I would have been okay with even Dominic taking a loss to CM Punk, but at least we give Dominic. I mean, he was right there to the very end in that match. He could have gave it to the top two guys.
And the role that Dominic Mysterio has been on, like we're supposed to hate him because he is that chicken crap heel, and he's doing a great job at it. But he is so good at what he's doing now.
Yep.
It's hard not to cheer for him because as a fan, like, we watch on Monday nights and we're like, I know I'm supposed to hate this guy, but he is entertaining the crap out of me. He is so good. He has gotten so good at what he's doing. He's getting among the loudest pops. He's in a heel faction with Judgment Day. Nobody really gives a crap about, and I'm not trying to be disparaging about this, but Finn Balor and JD McDonough are just not pulling the wagon here. I mean, Finn is positioned as the leader of the group, but it's Dominic that is garnering the most attention. So it's hard to really boo Dominic when he's doing such a great job. And it's just a matter of time before he's organically going to become a full-blown face. Even though he's going to be this era's version of Eddie Guerrero.
For sure.
Yeah. What about Logan Paul?
I don't know. I don't know why. I'm like, I feel like because I guess there would be no build with really any of them. It just seems like it would be so shocking to see Logan Paul in there against CM Punk. I wouldn't hate it. I feel like they'd have a great match. I just feel like, I don't know. Logan Paul, to me, seems like he should be going after like the Intercontinental or U.S. title. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see him. I could never see him with the heavyweight title around his waist.
At all?
Not right now. I just don't see it. I'm not saying it's not a possibility or shouldn't be. I just don't see it. I just can't see him carrying a company.
I can understand that. From my perspective, like I'm okay with Punk versus Uso, and I know I'm in the minority here, but this is setting the seeds for what could be a sidebar rivalry. Obviously, the main story has been Punk and Rollins. They've been building this for the last year plus. Actually, longer than that, going back to Punk's return at the Survivor Series in 23, because Seth Rollins was among the most vocal against that. Now, we know, because we pay attention to what goes on outside the ring, these two have become good friends, which I absolutely love, because Rollins wanted nothing at all to do with CM Punk. And I understood why. CM Punk did not do himself any favors on his last run here, but he's not the same guy that he used to be. Now, if it wasn't going to be Jey Uso, I would have preferred LA Knight, because I have been on the LA Knight fan train for a hot minute here, and I really want him to have a run as world champion. I think he's good on the mic, he's decent in the ring, he has charisma, he garners attention, and it doesn't matter if he's face or he's heel. In my opinion, I think he would make a decent world champion, even if it's in a transitional role. But the way the company has been going here lately, it wouldn't have mattered if it's Jey Uso, LA Knight, Seth Rollins. It's CM Punk's time. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter who we're putting against him. I think Punk's winning this belt right now. I mean, they gave it to him, but how many seconds was it he had it?
No, like 5 minutes or something like that.
Something like ridiculous like that. Like, I think it's give him the belt. Like, he's been doing great. Like, I think since he's came back, I think he showed that, he's really done a lot for the company in this time that he's been there.
No, for sure. And we're going to be keeping track of that, because next Saturday night will be this anticipated event. It's going to go down in Salt Lake City, Utah, on November the 1st, streaming exclusively on Peacock. I don't believe NBC is going to be carrying the live broadcast of these events anymore. You're going to have to get on Peacock to watch the show live. We'll make the transition here because we are going to see the crowning of a new world champion next weekend.
Did you say crown?
I did say crown, King of Kings. We also saw the crowning of new world tag team champions this past Monday night. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, a makeshift team on paper, but the storyline goes that they have this bond, this friendship, this level of respect. They were able to put it all together, and dethroning Judgment Day's Finn Balor and JD McDonough to win the World Tag Team Championship. And while there's a lot of fans in the IWC who are happy about this, you got essentially two internet darlings in AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. AJ, being the consummate veteran, has been doing this for a long, long time, virtually all over the world. He has announced that 2026 will be his last year as an active in-ring wrestler. So it brings the question up, what are they going to do for him in his last year in the ring? Well, apparently his first run as World Tag Team Champions is part of that equation. Now, Brian, you've taken exception to this.
You know how I feel about tag teams.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about, because this is a great example of the state of tag team wrestling, not just in WWE, which has been under a lot of scrutiny over the years. It's hard to go back, probably, I would say the last great era of WWE tag team wrestling probably was with the Attitude Era, where you had the Dudleys, you had the Hardy Boys, you had Edge and Christian, the APA, you can go, the New Age Outlaws.
Yep.
Such great tag teams. Before that, during the golden era of wrestling, you had the teams that laid the foundation for expectations that we would love to see here in 2025. with the likes of the Hart Foundation, with Demolition, with the Rockers, with the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express,
LOD.
the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, the Powers of Pain. I could go on and on and on and on. So what we essentially have now atop the tag team division on Monday nights is you have two single stars that they have put together as a tag team that have dethroned what has become a legitimate tag team in Finn Balor and JD McDonough. So it begs the question, what do we got to do? Who can we do it with to reignite a viable and exciting tag team scene in all of WWE, not just on Monday Night Raw, but you can make the argument for Friday Night SmackDown. They really need some help. Although they have the Wyatts, they have
Street Profits.
The Street Profits, like they have more established tag teams there. Brian, is it because there is just a lack of interest in tag team wrestling? Has it become a lost art in your view?
I think the reason why there's a loss of interest in it is because we're not seeing it. Like, look at JD and Finn. They defended those belts only like once, and like since they had them, or twice since they had them. They had them for forever. But also, you're diminishing the tag team division when you just slap two guys together and you have them go over a team that's been tagging together for years at this point. The whole point of a tag team division is two guys that work so well together that they end up winning championship belts. When you just put two superstars together, it just shoots that all down. Then it's just because we just put two of the greatest guys together and they could always be tag team champions. You go look at the women's tag team belt. It's Charlotte and Alexa. It's not a tag team. It's just two superstars slapped together. We're supposed to just act like they have this immediate bond.
Right.
It drives me nuts. I'd rather them take away the SmackDown and Raw tag teams and just do a single tag team for both, if you don't have enough tag teams for the divisions.
This is where it would be beneficial to start calling up some of the superstars of NXT that may not, I mean, they're talented, they've got something. Because when you look at like the New Age Outlaws, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg were going nowhere. Actually, they were on their way out of WWE. On a whim, they were thrown together, but they had that immediate bond, that immediate, the chemistry, I guess. And once they started rolling, man, like they had become the most popular tag team in WWE for quite a while.
I got my DX sledgehammer right here.
I see that. I mean, and that helped them too. Their alliance with Triple H and X-Pac and forming DX. But a lot of their greatest moments, even though they were wearing the DX banner, it wasn't because they were necessarily a part of that group. It was what they were doing in the ring. You look at later on down the line, the rivalry between the New Day, which were single stars that weren't doing much of anything. They became a formidable unit, tag team. They were running with the Freebird rule because there was, Big E, Xavier, and Kofi. They could switch them out. But their rivalry with the Usos during the Usos' initial run reignited the tag team scene. Nowadays, we've got the Street Profits. We had Eric and Ivar. We had
Motor City Machine Guns.
The Motor City. They're being wasted.
They are.
The Motor City Machine Guns. We sat on this very program, and we're so excited about the Motor City Machine Guns finally being able to come to WWE, and they've done nothing with them since they had a 2-month run as champions when they first got here. A year and a half later, like they're still there, but they should be the cornerstone of the tag team scene. And I don't care if it's on Raw or SmackDown. They're doing nothing with them. Now, we know Vince McMahon, when he was running WWE, at this stage of the company's history, really wasn't interested in tag teams in the traditional sense. when Paul Levesque took over, that was one thing that we were hopeful for, that they would put a little bit more emphasis in, because Paul Levesque is a wrestling guy. He is old school. He is the game for a reason, and he had always said he had an appreciation for tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
Where is it at in the booking? We're getting this. We're getting AJ Styles and Dragon Lee as the new world champions. If their reign lasts longer than a month, it's going to be very hard for me to get back reinvested in the whole scene.
Then that's the thing too. It's like you said, like if you looked at like New Day and even New Age Outlaws, those were two stars that they put together, but then they stayed together for all that time. You look at these guys aren't going to be together in like a month.
Right.
You look at Charlotte and Alexa. No one expects them to be together. We're waiting for them to turn on each other.
Right.
It's not like, well, here's a new tag team. No, it's just here's what's going on right now, and it's going to be split up in a month's time.
Yeah, we were talking the other night. This is where, and I can't believe we're saying this, but we would rather have the Kabuki Warriors, who had established themselves as a legitimate tag team, go over to Friday nights and win the women's tag team championship from Alexa, from Charlotte, because you know the other shoe is going to drop eventually. You know, they're going to wind up breaking up. You can only tease this crap for so long before people be like, nah, I'm not interested. So if it does happen, it's like a popcorn fart in church. Nobody's going to care, or we're supposed to. And the younger demographic will, but like us, we're going to be like, you should have done this 6 months ago.
Yep.
You know, it's going to be, it's crazy, because tag team wrestling is an art. It is a lost art. And I don't know what we can do to get people back interested in it without it being just one high spot after another. Because when you look at old school teams like the British Bulldogs or the Hart Foundation, the Midnight Express, you had generally a high flyer and a powerhouse, and they complemented each other, and they were putting on hour-long clinics. Then you get other teams like the Legion of Doom, like Demolition. There was no high flying at all. They were going in there and smashing people. And we bought into that stuff. So when you get a team like the Road Warriors against a team like the Midnight Express, you got a clash of styles, man, but it wound up becoming some of the best matches of an entire era in a generation. When we look at tag teams now, Street Profits, but you know, with that, we've always said, man, Montez Ford could become a huge star on his own. But then you look at like the Bronze. I know there's a lot of talk right now about Braun Breaker being the future of WrestleMania. But if you go that route, you're leaving Bronson Reed in the dust right now. Could you see a scenario where Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed form a legitimate tag team for the time being? Not so much just to dominate the tag team scene, because we already know Braun Breaker is a made star. We already know what his future's looking like. I personally can't say the same thing for Bronson Reed. There's nothing about this guy, from my perspective, that stands out that says he's going to be a major player in the next 5 to 10 years. So would a legitimate tag team and a run as world champions, a respectable run, would that help Bronson Reed become a bona fide star, that once Breaker breaks off, Reed will be okay?
I mean, it definitely couldn't hurt, for sure. I've never really thought about it. I mean, definitely holding a belt gives you some legitimacy as a talent. Like, they just don't give belts to anybody. So, for sure, like, especially a good run with them, especially depending on how they run that storyline. Like, if they make them seem like a dominant team that just can't be beat, and just, I mean, that's what Fraxium was in NXT. Like, they just couldn't get beat. And then they end up finally losing to Hank and Tank, which was, If you didn't know the Hank and Tank storyline, it would be like, wow, that was just ridiculous. But the fact that they slowly worked their way up made a great storyline as well. I'd like to see them as a tag team and dominate for a while. But it's like you said. Here's this style. What can defeat this style? Could it be two high flyers? Would it be a mix of a big guy and a high flyer? Like, that was what was fun about tag team divisions.
Yeah.
It was the mix-up of styles that you could see. Because now it's just not one-on-one, two different styles. Now you have four guys in there with a mix of styles.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, that comparison and contrast, and that's what makes magic between the ropes, right? As we switch gears here, one thing that is not seeing a whole lot of magic right now is the initial numbers of this partnership with WWE and ESPN. At this point, there have been 2 premium live events on ESPN. Started with WrestlePalooza and then followed up with Crown Jewel. Now, WrestlePalooza was not well received as an overall show. The production was there, the stars were there, but execution of the show left a lot to be desired. They were able to rebound, in my view, with Crown Jewel. They had a great card, albeit pretty short, I think 5 matches.
Yep.
But they had good matches on paper. And it was a decent show, and the crowd was into it because they were in Perth, Australia. The match of the night, I've got to believe, in my view, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later on in the program, but this instant classic between John Cena and AJ Styles. 2 guys, as we made mention here a little bit ago, in their late 40s, but they anchored the entire show. Well, that did not garner the kind of numbers that I'm sure the executives of ESPN were anticipating when they signed a multi-billion-dollar streaming right contract with WWE. Because as of right now, the new subscription numbers since the launch and since WrestlePalooza in September just is not garnering the kind of results that both sides were hoping for, especially when you invest billions of dollars into a property. Now, we could sit here all day long and speculate who's to blame. What can we do differently? And the fact of the matter is, and it's the same thing that we have talked about time and time and time again, since the merger of WWE with UFC to create TKO, this is what we were worried about. Because with WWE programming now being stretched across multiple streaming platforms, each of which has their own monthly subscription fee, wrestling fans are starting to regurgitate this. Brian, I don't know what you expected in terms of the initial numbers. What would WWE's influence do for ESPN's downloads? But does any of this surprise you?
Not really. It was. I think the blame, a lot of it falls on ESPN. They started up a new streaming service on ESPN Unlimited. Nobody understood whether the ESPN I have is going to be the one that has it, or if it doesn't. You had multiple streaming platforms. I don't know if I think it was like YouTube TV or Hulu Live, who it just didn't go work with their ESPN, so people didn't get it through them. I don't know if you blame Stephanie McMahon for mentioning VPNs because it's such a cheaper route to go that way.
Right.
They're also they expected all these new subscribers. A lot of us that watch wrestling are also sports fans and already have ESPN.
Right.
So it wasn't like we had to turn around and get it. We already had it. It's like, all right, just moving from one to the other.
Now, there's 2 sides of the coin with this, because I don't have cable at my place.
Me neither.
I don't have ESPN. But I'm not going to miss SummerSlam. I'm not going to miss the Survivor Series. I'm not going to miss WrestleMania. I'm going, as a diehard, lifelong fan, as pissed as I am about it, I'm going to follow wherever it goes. Although I'm not packing my bags to go to Riyadh, I can tell you that. But be that as it may, I'm going to follow WWE's product. I am a lifelong fan. I'm a passionate fan. Plus, we do this show here. So
It'd be really awkward if we didn't know what to talk about.
exactly. So
It'd have to be a retro show. We just go back and talk about 80s and 90s.
I know that like the back of my hand. I'm an encyclopedia about that kind of stuff. But as far as the current product goes, like I have a subscription to Peacock because that's where WWE is at right now, or their archival footage. Although we're starting to see more and more pop up on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, they got the cartoons now on there.
Oh, I know it. Let me tell you something. You want to talk about nostalgia? I watched an episode at work last night.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, absolutely I did. I'm over here like a 10-year-old kid eating a bowl of Frosted Flakes, just as happy as I could be.
Frosted Flakes sounds good.
But it's becoming too much. And for younger fans, especially now, especially with the contingent that follow AEW, there is such an anti-WWE sentiment. Like they will regurgitate this whole thing just out of principle for their fandom for AEW because they don't know how to be a wrestling fan. They have to have it one side or the other. They want to be on the right side of history. Look, the right side of history is very simple. How the business overall flourishes. And it won't flourish if there's only one game in town. We saw that for a long time when there was only WWE as a national promotion. But these numbers, man, these numbers are damning. And they tell a lot about the current landscape of the wrestling fan, of the wrestling business. And this is what I have said time and time again. The main people who call the shots at TKO don't get it. They don't understand. All they care about is the almighty dollar. We sat here a week or two ago, an episode or two ago, and said, man, what they're doing, they're essentially squeezing all the juice out of the lemon and nosediving this thing into the ground. You've got over 55 years of history, 55 years of fandom that you don't give a crap about. And the one guy on that board that should care about it doesn't because he forgot who he is. Sorry, I went off on a little tangent, a little sidebar right there, but we'll bring it back. Right now, they got to figure something out because ESPN is losing money. WWE, not nearly as much. Why? Because fans are still buying $200 tickets to sit in the upper bowl of a 20,000 seat basketball arena, or in some cases a 50 to 60,000 seat football or baseball stadium. They're getting their money one way or the other, and that's not counting merch. ESPN right now has got to be questioning a lot of things, and it's not like it's a lack of promotion because you can go on college game day, you can watch. I was watching the NHL the other night, and during the one period, I think it was the Anaheim Ducks and Montreal that were playing. I saw 5 WWE ads for the Survivor Series.
Wow.
And so it's not a lack of promotion on ESPN's part. So what is it? Well, this is where I think it falls back on TKO because wrestling fans are getting tired of this. They're getting tired of having to pay what winds up, if you add it all up, just as much as you would have to pay if you had a traditional cable system, Spectrum or Xfinity or whatever the case may be. Something's got to give here because at some point wrestling fans are simply going to turn it off. And once they turn it off, you know as well as anybody, it gets to be real difficult for them to turn it back on. Would you agree?
100%. What would it take for you at this point just to be like, I'm gonna get a VPN?
I'm there.
Because it's you don't have to have the WB anymore. You can watch NXT, SmackDown, Raw, all right there. All your pay-per-views are there. Not only that, do you remember when it was Peacock had the PLEs? You had to, if you didn't get there live, you had to watch where it was. You couldn't rewind back. You can do that with the VPNs on Netflix. You go right back to start, watch it whatever you want. It's making it so convenient. I don't see there's no other way. I think everyone's going to switch over. And when they do, everyone's going to lose money and the doors will probably shut. I don't know what you're going to do.
That's why I chuckled when you said the Stephanie McMahon thing, because, and it wasn't necessarily her fault. VPN bought an ad on her podcast, and that's run by Fanatics. So, you know, they run all their merchandise and stuff now. So she was just doing what they bought an ad. You know what I mean? And I understand why ESPN was pissed about it, but money don't lie, right? I mean, that's what everything is supposed to be all about. And I'm curious to see how many people bought into that once the VPN, because it didn't really come across my radar until you were telling me about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, obviously this is something I should look into. And I'm going to, because, you know, and I'll be straight up with you, the reception, like the digital reception on ESPN is very choppy.
I don't like their app. I've never liked their app. Like when I used to have to use it for the UFCs and stuff, it's always been glitchy and stuff like that.
Yeah. The voices don't match up with the way the word. It's too much. It really freaks me out. So yeah, the VPN thing might be the way to go here, and I know I'm not going to be the only one. So stay tuned, as it were. With that, we're going to run a quick timeout. We will be back with more of the Fatal 4-Way live on ONTV right after this.
9, 8.
Are you or someone you know having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance abuse crisis? 988 connects you to compassionate, confidential support for free.
988.
988 is the new 3-digit dialing code for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For years, the Lifeline, formerly known as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, has answered tens of millions of calls and helped people overcome mental health-related distress. 988 is the same trusted resource. When you call, text, or chat 988, you'll be quickly connected to trained crisis counselors who will listen to your concerns, provide support, and get you additional help if needed. There is hope. The Lifeline works. You are not alone in crisis. Just call, text, or chat 988.
988.
Knowing how to identify signs of crisis in others and help connect them to resources like the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is an important way to prevent suicide in Lake Orion. For information about free suicide prevention trainings offered in our community, please visit the North Oakland Community Coalition at noccmi.org.
988.
Have you ever thought of producing your own podcast? ONTV offers the facilities, equipment, and training to help you get your own podcast off the ground. Learn how to record your show and get it out to the world. Cost is $25 per person, which gives you access to ONTV's podcast room and equipment. For more information, give ONTV a call at 248-393-1060 or visit orionontv.org today.
And welcome back to the Fatal 4-Way on ONTV. Along with Brian Bolf, I'm Jason Clouse. Certainly appreciate you tuning in here tonight. Conspicuous by his absence is one Hollywood Q. He did send in. He did message us a little bit ago. I don't think he's going to make it here tonight. I don't think he's going to make it in time. But We're thinking about you, Q, and we'll catch
He dressed
you.
up as Cena.
Yeah.
Low-hanging fruit joke
He
right
did
there.
dress up. He dressed up as John Cena because you can't see him. But be that as it may, we have talked about the upcoming match with CM Punk and Jey Uso on Saturday night's main event next weekend, the state of the tag team scene in WWE, and the ESPN numbers, the initial numbers of WWE on their product. If you have an opinion, you have a question, you have a comment, anything of the sort, the lines are open at 810-277-3743. Right now, we're going to go to this week's 3 count. 3 things that come across our radar in the past week or so. And unfortunately, we have to start with some rather sad news. You know, we hate to hear anytime a superstar passes away, whether, you know, it's unexpected or you kind of know it's coming. It doesn't make it any easier for anybody by any stretch of the imagination. But we wanted to take a moment here tonight and share our condolences to the friends, family, and fans of Robert Horn, who we knew as Sir Mo, one half of Men on a Mission, passed away on October the 19th at the age of 58, just 2 months after a severe blood infection and pneumonia. You think about Men on a Mission, you know, we were talking about tag teams here a little bit ago here on the program, and Men on a Mission they were a good team in the right place. They really stood out. Now, you can make the argument that the tag team scene was depleted at that time when they had the Smoking Guns and, you know, teams that we're not going to necessarily put on Mount Rushmores, right?
Yeah.
But they did make a name for themselves. They did stand out, former tag team champions. Any memories in terms of watching Sir Mo or Men on a Mission as a team in WWE in the early 90s?
No, absolutely not. But it's like you said, they were they were served a purpose at that time. But like I look back, all I remember is the big shiny purple and yellow suits, and but that's basically it. But like you said, it was also very depleted tag team division at that time. It was very gimmick heavy.
Yeah, very gimmick heavy. That's a good way of putting it. You know, once Mabel, or we would know later on as Viscera, became King of the Ring, you know, they kind of put a lot of emphasis on him as a solo act, and Mo took more of almost like a managerial role. They had kicked Oscar out, and Mo kind of became his valet.
I forgot about Oscar. You just said that. Yeah.
Mabel, Oscar, Mo, Men on a Mission, MOM. But you know, again, you know, we were terribly sorry to hear about his passing. And along those lines, I got word that Abdullah the Butcher is now in the hospital with a serious health issue going on. So we're kind of keeping tabs on that. And, you know, he's a legend by any stretch of the imagination. Like, the guy who has more than made a name for himself. I have personal feelings about Abdullah the Butcher, but I will reserve those for my own platform because they're not very favorable. What is going to be favorable is tomorrow night, live on Peacock. NXT is going to be presenting their annual Halloween Havoc premium live event. Halloween Havoc has become a staple for the black and gold brand. It is going to go down with Ricky Saints in the main event. He will be putting up the NXT Championship against Trick Williams. Easy for me to say. On paper, that's every
tricky.
bit. Yeah, it is tricky. Well done there. This is going to be a good match.
Yeah, I don't like Ricky Saints at all, but it will be a good match.
No, you still haven't come around to him.
No.
No.
And then this latest promo he cut there when they were signing the contracts, did a little face-off thing. I was like, ugh, I do not like this guy at all. I don't buy into him. I don't know what it is. I just don't. Yeah.
I don't know. He's starting to warm up. Like I watched him a little bit in AEW, so I have a little bit more exposure to him, and I was happy to see him make the jump to NXT. I felt like it was a perfect spot for him to get his WWE legs under him, because it's just a matter of time before he gets called up to the main roster, in my view. We will also be seeing WWE legends and current NXT and TNA Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boys, are going to be defending their titles against Dark State in a Broken Rules match for the NXT Tag Team Championship. How cool was it to see Jeff and Matt Hardy back under the WWE umbrella and winning championship?
Pretty cool. I mean, I think we were kind of expected it was going to happen. But, yeah, I'm a fan of it. I know a lot of people were upset. They were expecting a cinematic match.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get it, which I think it's going to be better.
It's, the Hardys back in anything WWE is, I was never really a Hardy Boys fan, because I looked at them as a pretty boy tag team, and I never really bought into pretty boy tag teams.
They were too emo for me.
Yeah,
They looked like they shopped at Hot Topic, and I was like, I'm done. I'm like,
I'd
rather see the Dudleys or Edge and Christian.
APA.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. But for a nostalgic run, I appreciate this. I'm glad to see Jeff Hardy really trying to get his crap together.
Yep.
I thought sure he was going to be one of those tragedies.
For sure.
But he is really doing everything he can to stay on the clean and narrow side of things, so I can appreciate that. JC Jane is going to be putting her NXT women's title on the line against Tatum Paxley. All that and more. Check out Peacock tomorrow night, October the 25th.
Laparco will be there.
That's what I heard.
He's tagging in
with Mr. Iguana, isn't
Yeah, that should be a fun match.
Yeah. Mr. Iguana, we're gonna be talking a lot more about him in the coming months here on the program. I feel like it's just a matter of time. One of the shining stars of AAA. So it's just a matter of time before we start seeing him on a regular basis in either NXT or WWE, whether it be Raw or SmackDown. We want to take a little bit of time here and look back on a big pay-per-view weekend that took place here recently. AEW presented Wrestle Dream live on pay-per-view. Adam Page was able to retain the AEW World Championship against Samoa Joe. The big story coming out of that was the heel turn of Samoa Joe. And me personally, not a real big shocker, because if you look at Joe's, whether he was in TNA, NXT, WWE, he has always just had a heel aura.
He's rough around the edges.
Yeah.
He's like, even when he's like not a heel, he's kind of a heel.
We also saw Darby Allin pick up a win over Jon Moxley. FTR beat Jet Speed. The Jurassic Express beat the Young Bucks. And Kyle Fletcher battled and defeated Mark Briscoe. There were more matches, but these were the highlights according to their website. I went to their actual website, and these were the ones that were front and center. So, all right. Then there was Crown Jewel, the offering from WWE. We talked about it, or we touched on it a little bit ago. John Cena and AJ Styles.
Amazing match.
Match of the year. Would you agree?
I was at work, because I worked that Saturday first shift, and I was sitting there watching it with no volume. And, I was just amazed on how great that match ended up being. Definitely, I'm now a contender for match of the year for sure.
Just when you thought it was over, and these guys went every bit of 25 minutes. And I mean, counter after counter, move after move, doing everybody else's moves. It was just, the storytelling of it was so good. But you know what I really took away from it? And this is saying something, because I usually don't look back on a John Cena match and be like, damn, that was special. But I did with this one. But there was such a personal element at the start of it when he handed Alicia Taylor a piece of paper for AJ's ring intro and what Cena had personally written for AJ Styles. I had a lump in my throat, dude. Because
And without, AJ didn't know either.
Yeah.
Because you could tell he had honest reactions to the different things being said.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, and how great was that match? Because I thought you were going to go with the Bray Wyatt tribute that he did, and then the Fireflies and the thing. There's so many moments of that match that were just so memorable.
That got Cena.
Yeah, it did.
That got Cena.
To see all those lights like that, he looks up. That was a great moment.
That was
too.
a wonderful moment. That would probably be my number 2 moment in that match. We also saw Big Bronson Reed pick up kind of an upset victory, I felt like, over Roman Reigns. Like it's not very often nowadays where we see Roman Reigns get pinned cleanly for the most part, but that's what happened here. Big Bronson Reed picked up the win over Roman Reigns. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky in a winning effort over the Kabuki Warriors. That was a pretty decent match.
Yeah.
And then the 2 Crown Jewel title matches that took place, of course, Stephanie Vaquer would defeat Tiffany Stratton to win the Women's Crown Jewel Championship, the first time that Tiffany had lost this year. Yeah. And in your main event, again, we alluded to this a little bit ago at the top of the program, Seth Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion at that time, picked up a win over WWE Champion Cody Rhodes to become Crown Jewel Champion. And then 48 hours later, Brian, the bottom falls out. We saw the end of the Vision, and then a week later, we saw the end of Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship run. So a lot of news coming out of Crown Jewel. But I want to touch on the women's Crown Jewel match. It didn't occur to me that Stratton had been on the roll that she had been on.
Me neither until they mentioned that.
Right.
Like I was like, oh wow, because now what? She's 17-1.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
So to have her, and she's still the WWE Women's Champion on Friday Night SmackDown. But what a vote of confidence that must be for Stephanie Vaquer, who's relatively still new on the main roster and having just won the Women's World Championship, filling a vacancy. Sky's the limit on her.
For sure. I mean, like how many titles she's held just in like the last, 6 months?
Yeah.
She's had both titles in NXT, now multiple titles in WWE, including the Crown Jewel. And that was, in my opinion, the biggest letdown of the night for a match because I expected more out of it. And I mean, I don't know if maybe the rest of the matches were so good, but that one just kind of left me like, oh, I wanted more.
And that's going to lead me into this week's Clouse's closeout. I don't spend a tremendous amount of time putting my own personal spotlight on the women's divisions in professional wrestling, but after watching the match at Crown Jewel and a couple of other matches that have happened on Monday Night Raw, and I did take in a couple of clips on YouTube from what AEW is presenting, more specifically Tony Storm in a losing effort at Wrestle Dream. It got me thinking, like, what a change that we have seen in the last handful of years in the way women have been presented in terms of being professional wrestlers. At one time, they were divas. At one time, they were just girl wrestlers. But now here in 2025, through hard work, through perseverance, through dedication, and through a very loyal fan base, women's wrestlers are now considered superstars without the women in front of it. And that has been a testament to a few of these girls that I want to shed spotlight on, as much as it pains me to highlight some of them. I'm talking about like Liv Morgan.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Becky.
No, well, listen, I don't like Becky Lynch either. I'm not a fan, but I have to appreciate what she's done for the division. Because you look back at the era prior to that with the butterfly belt, the divas, And take nothing away from Michelle McCool, but I would never put her in the same echelon as Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan or Becky Lynch. In this day and age, it is everybody is trying to find their identity, and everybody wants to be received as equals. Well, the women in professional wrestling have done that and then some. They've had to work harder to be accepted as equals, and I appreciate their efforts. We saw that on full display at Crown Jewel with Stephanie Vaquera and Tiffany Stratton. I can even take that back earlier this year at WrestleMania. We saw Tiffany and Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair being a standard bearer in women's wrestling. But Tiffany Stratton got the win on that night. The next night, in which I was in the stadium for, and I got to feel that energy, we watched 3 women lay it all out on the line in what was one of the best matches of the night, that being Rhea Ripley, that being Bianca Belair, and that being Io Sky. But with the good, you also have to acknowledge the bad. And who is doing more to damage women's wrestling based on lack of experience, lack of talent, lack of a lot of things, yet they are being presented as the end-all be-all. I'm looking at you, Mercedes Moné. How many damn belts do you really need to justify or to make yourself feel like you're important, like you're going to be on Mount Rushmores of women's wrestling in years from now? You will be on Mount Rushmores, make no mistake about it, but it will not be for the reasons for which you want. It will be because you are a fraud. It will be because you work for an organization that does not know how to present, promote, and produce professional wrestling. Facts. Does not matter how many belts that you collect between now and the end of your career, you will never be hurled in the same breath as Rhea Ripley, as Charlotte Flair, as Stephanie Vaquera, Fabulous Moolah, Mae Young, Wendy Richter. China, you can make an argument for China for sure. But you will never be that. So drop yourself down off your high horse and accept reality that the only reason why you are where you are is because who you are related to and the connections that people feel like you can make happen. Because for people that don't just dial in on the IWC, a very toxic way to watch pro wrestling, you do not move the needle. With that, we appreciate everybody who tuned in here tonight, and we will be back with you in 2 weeks' time. However, it will be on the PFC Network's channels on Facebook, YouTube, and Riverside.fm. With that, go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other. We'll see you next time right here on the Fatal 4-Way, live on ONTV. It's part of the PFC Entertainment Network.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.